Okay, so we just got done looking at global migration trends, but let's zoom in a little bit and let's look at the national level here in the United States. Note quick the demographic balancing equation. What we have to understand is that the United States is the third largest, most populous country in the world. What we also know, however, is that the birth rate and the natural increase rate in America is relatively low. So, why is our population so large? We have to look at net migration. So when we look at the demographic balancing equation, we can understand population change by looking at the births minus the deaths. That would give us natural increase rate. But then you can add the immigrants and subtract the emigrants to truly get an image of your population demographics and composition. The United States is by far one of the most populous immigrants countries in the entire world. We can see in the United States our culture, our institutions, our economics are shaped large in part because of the migrant population that has accompanied our past. You guys watched that short visual from Metrocosm to really understand the immigration history into the United States. We have seen those migration flows changing. At one point, 1500 to 1700, the bulk of migrants to America came from European countries, Europeans who hoped to colonize the Americas. After that, we've really seen a shift. So if we look kind of down here at your history of migration, you can see obviously here, right at the beginning of World War I, you can see a peak of migration into this country. You can see as migration policies changed as we were in war, as World War I ended and as we entered into the 20s, and then you can see your Great Depression here. You can see the amount of migrants in this country really dipped and dropped here. You can see then this period during and after World War II, and then we see a shift where European migration really used to be one of the biggest flows of migration into the Americas. We begin to see a shift here into Latin America. 1945 to present, Latin America and Asia probably are the largest migrant flows into the United States. And we can see many reasons for those trends changing, but understanding culture and our relationship with countries abroad is really a big part of that picture. We can see some trends then also at the regional level when we actually zoom in a little bit more here within the United States. We can see some major interregional trends that has shaped American history. We saw between 1910 and 1940. So really following World War I, probably starting more in depth in 1917, was what was considered the first Great Migration. Many African Americans had been living in the South, either working in labor jobs, working on farms. This is post-slavery. We are a half a century after slavery, and they are still working in labor conditions. And so many post World War I will migrate north into the cities to escape the racial discrimination and violence that still plagued the South at that time. The pull factor north then was jobs. Many factory jobs that accompanied the Great Lakes region, today referred to as the Rust Belt region, our automobile industry. We really saw a big cluster here of economic employment in the North, which is again a major pull factor for many Black laborers during that time. We've actually seen, though, post World War II, a second Great Migration, and this one has gone the other direction. We've actually begun to see then a shift from the Northeast and the Midwest back to the South and to the Southwest. Government policies really may be may be responsible for these shifts. We saw right to work laws, which we'll talk about later, but they're labor union laws, basically. New investment in highway systems and infrastructure, more availability to buy homes, and truthfully, industry began moving south, whether that was for, again, working, I don't know, limits, I guess, if you will. In the South, major factory owners decided to open up their industrial centers in the South, which was a major pull factor then again, for Black laborers in the United States. And this wasn't just a great migration for one ethnicity. We've seen trends moving to the South now, for the last couple of decades. We've begun to see people desiring the climates in the South, and because of possibilism and air conditioning, and some of the luxuries that are pulling people there, we're beginning to see some of those major trends happening in American migration today.